I'm welcoming Jacques now, who led a team, an amazing team, with 300 trained gardeners in his team. I think Liverpool may have 2, and working with artists over time. So, Jacques, welcome. Thank you for coming from Nantes today to share how your city approaches this work.
Thank you, Polly. Thank you, Richard. Some friends of all time. Who invite me here to have this talk in a very bad English. I'm so sorry. That's why I have a prompter, not so far, able to help me to do the talk. I was a green spaces director at Nantes during 20 years and participated in the green transformation of the city around landscaping. My initial training is double, with a master's degree in botany and ecology on the one hand, and a diploma in horticultural engineer from the Versailles School on the second hand. A double skill that was very useful to me to combine the wild and the cultivated in a great living show on the Nantes Seine. The city of Nantes has developed over the centuries thanks to its important river port as Liverpool. The metropolis covers 500 square kilometers for 600,000 inhabitants, and the city center 6,000 hectares for 300,000 inhabitants. That's more than 100 parks in the city itself, and about 1,200 hectares of green spaces for the city of 600,000 hectares. It's composed with 24 cities for the metropole itself, and we obtained the European Green Capital in 2013. Some parks are particularly frequented, such as the Jardin des Plantes, located in the center of the city, which received about 2.5 million visitors each year, more than doubling attendance in only 6 years. How to do this? It was necessary to significantly modify the spaces and make them much more attractive and accessible to all audiences. Finally, 3 parks, including the Jardin des Plantes, received the Green Flag in 2022. The Green Space Policy was rewarded with the Gold Flower in 2021, which is a form of national recognition produced by the Committee of Flowery Cities and Villages in France. We use a great diversity of plants through large historic collections as magnolia and camellia. Oh, sorry. Okay. After reaching the first figure of 100 gardens spread throughout the city, it was imagined to go further towards the city in a garden by facilitating a rather green, quiet traffic accessible to pedestrians and cyclists to go from one park to another. It is with this objective that the great project of the Green Star of the Nantes Valleys was imagined on the scale of the Nantes metropolis. This project in 2025 of about 460 kilometers of work will connect the 24 municipalities through the main green spaces and natural sites. A theme has been defined to characterize each of the valleys, a work carried out with the help of a famous landscape designer, Gilles Clément. The Loire is thus called the Wide Valley downstream and the Valley of the Trip upstream, but also for other rivers, the Mirror Valley, the Secret Valley, the Fertile Valley, or the Radiant Valley. So a kind of identity for each valley. Demineralization is a leitmotif with the open ground program on about 10 kilometers of sidewalks by 2026, a new stage for greater permeability in the city. You can see here, for example, the very recent layout in some big street. The main axis of this star follows the Loire, which is why an urban transformation program was initiated with the help of landscapers by recalibrating downtown public spaces around water and plants. It is interesting to review the image of the north forecourt of the station in 1968, a space totally occupied by cars that all converge on the same point. This space, first modified in 1985 at the time of the reinstallation of the tramway, has just been transformed recently by the Phytolab agency, a Nantes landscape agency. It perfectly connects the Jardin des Plantes to the station. So the Jardin des Plantes comes out of its walls. Obviously, the trams that pass nearby and the construction of new bike paths has also reduced car pressure. Artists such as Jean Julien, who is initially a cartoonist, conveys a message around the necessary revitalization of the city with characters who, for example, guide climbing plants on the facade of the town hall or unroll green carpets instead of the asphalt of a parking lot. It is also a way to prefigure the city's project and to bring new solutions. So you can see these cartoons go in the city sometime and to prepare the future of the city and to give some information. This work that starts from the station continues along the Loire for about 4 kilometers to reach the new extraordinary garden. The change is significant with the support of different teams of landscape architects, such as the AJOA and Jacqueline Hosty agency, but also Henri Bava's Terre agency, which by 2025 will transform spaces until now devoted mainly to cars and public transport to leave more room for walkers. The issue of demineralization is a new leitmotif for city managers everywhere in the world. We can consider that half of the pavement and streets will be suppressed in the next year, with the increasing of the petrol cost particularly. Quai de la Fosse here, a quay near the Loire, is a good example. It was obvious that this ungrateful car park did not have a great future ahead of it, and that is why, with the mayor of Nantes, Johanna Roland, she asked me for an intermediate development opportunity while waiting for the great general development project of this Nantes promenade that will join the new Jardin Extraordinary or Extraordinary Garden. Thus, designed in less than 9 months, this event project hosted part of the municipal nursery. The trees was presented in bins and classified by category, native to Europe, Asia, or America, wetlands, etc. The species was named and their place of destination is given in connection with the future project of the city. New educational place, it is indeed a staging of the plant range open to a very diverse public, including schools, while improving the promenade that circulates along the Loire. A place that is now taken over by the Terre agency as part of this great development of the Nantes Promenade project. But we will retain the elements that have made this success. You can see the transformation of the city here on the picture. In the same way, Malakoff Quay, close to the railway station, an ugly parking place, is actually going green with a light layout, rather cheap, but very appreciated already. In a less expensive way, a Nantes visual artist named Evor transformed a totally mineral space in the city center, a courtyard of a concrete building. He is a tenant only, and gradually, in 10 years, pot by pot, he has implanted thousands of grown pots by creating a space now called indoor jungle. It is possible to contemplate this exuberant garden from a viewpoint that we created on public spaces to have an observation on this incredible site. Today, it is one of the important stages of the Nantes Tourist Project, one of the most appreciated by the public, who take a moment of contemplation, but also of listening to birds or insects. It can be hoped that wherever there are still art spaces of this type everywhere, a man's energy alone could change everything. Cities are now a refuge for nature. Obviously, the total cessation of the use of herbicides for several years has promoted this. In addition, the way our public spaces and green spaces are developed can also improve the reception of a great floristic diversity by implementing a great diversity of environment and exhibition. One of the best examples is La Gaudinière Park, which in 2009 I had the chance to develop by staging a river that was previously channeled underground with new water bodies, waterfalls, and tons of rocks. Thus, in 2023, it is difficult to imagine that this space was partly created by man. The most positive aspect is the return of a beautiful faunal and floristical diversity, but also a complete improvement in the quality of highly oxygenated and phytopurified water. One of the surprises is the discovery of a strong colony of bursting toads, the seed becoming the main reserve of this species in all the departments of Loire-Atlantique. It is therefore a real satisfaction to know that from a developed project, it is possible to significantly increase the reception potential of an increasingly diverse nature. That's the subject also of Fergus in the afternoon. We do on the same way some very interesting information on this type. In the same way, we have totally transformed a city center car, you can see here, organized around a river Lerdre. Here are the last hours of operation of the car park after evacuation of parked cars. A photo taken in 2013, the site was at the time still chemically weeded. We have an ability to produce events that transform and test spaces and that in some cases become permanent spaces. This was the case for the floating garden of the prefecture, which was initially this parking you have seen before, only an event project that has become today a sustainable project with the support of the public, which also largely asked for its extension. The new Jardin Extraordinaire is a beautiful 10-hectare spaces connected to the Loire River, located in a former industrial site, on a quarry sheltered by a granite cliff. With the recent landscaping carried out with the help of the Phytolab agency, creating waterfalls and ponds, we are seeing a steady improvement in biodiversity. We can count here the new birds and dragonflies and butterflies arriving in this place now with this new layout. This area is managed as a weekend activity alternative, offering swimming and climbing opportunities, a low-carbon trip in Nantes. A new way to do our new layout in the city is to say less kilometers to go in the best place. These new spaces can also be space for meeting and plant production. Thus, after creating gourmet station in 2008, like in Totmorden, for example, a broader program called Nurturing Landscapes was set up in 2021 to meet a need for the production of quality organic vegetables for populations in difficulty, especially at the time of the COVID epidemic. Success has been there, and their spaces are maintained everywhere, year after year, in the 11 neighborhoods of the city. Vegetable harvests are measured and staged on slates, you can read every day. They are carried out with the help of associations that support the most vulnerable population. During the summer, every summer, we invite artists whose creativity is recognized to animate our gardens. The Jardin des Plantes was one of the reference spaces for these artistic interventions. And so its attractiveness increased at the same time. But this is also the case for events such La Folie des Plantes, a festival very appreciated by the public in September, at the beginning of September, around a magnificent castle at the Parc du Grand Blotreau, you can see here. In the city of Jules Verne, the storytelling is an interesting way to get the public to join and keep a link over several years. We checked it at the Jardin des Plantes with a successful invitation of a French artist known in the world of children's literature, Claude Ponty. With this man, we realized the plant chic arrived composed by our own teams of gardeners, and the saga took place over several years. When this chic reappeared in the garden in the most incredible situation, the public was largely involved in the realization of these projects. And last year, for example, a big party was organized to celebrate the new arrival of the giant chic with the implementation of a strange palace. So, to organize this great living show, it is interesting to talk to street theater specialists such as the duo of François de la Rosière and Pierre Réfis, the famous designers of the giant mechanical elephant that has been wandering around the city for several years. It has become one of the greatest attractions on the Atlantic coast. With these same people, we continue to maintain cordial and close relationships and have imagined in Nantes a show that circulates around the world. The Aréo Floral, you see here, as in here in Montreal in 2022. Recently retired, I took here a new role as botanist of the expedition around an equally musical show. You can see me here among these artists. Plants are here magnified with experiments that mix reality and fantasy. The energy that allows, for example, the propulsion of the vessel will be produced by plants. Beyond that, it is a real show in which a very large audience participates. This fantasy is an original way to get people to assimilate knowledge about the living environment and ecology in general. It is therefore possible to call on artists of all origins, circus, theater, music, with a positive result when we recombine these creative abilities with our gardeners' expertise, as in 2024. During the summertime, with the theme about trees, for example, you have seen before, and wood, this cultural project has been extended beyond the city limits along the Loire River to the sea. Artists work on various gardens and natural sites. Tazunishi, for example, you can see here in 2014, and different constructions you can see here. So we use plants to realize a floral display. That's a big show possible, and the main artists are the plants themselves. Wild and cultivated, that's the way for us also to do this large mixing of plants. And for that also we can use the history of the city through the arrival of plants in this city for the first time for some of them in Europe, like Magnolia or Camellia too, where we have great collection. For that, to realize that, we have to engage and coordinate a team of now 500 people with a large range of skills: gardeners, carpenters, landscapers, guardians, nurserymen, florists, naturalists, etc. Finally, one of my new activities today is the animation of the French plant heritage, an association which identifies and enhances wild and cultivated plant heritage in France, and we define like that 300 collections. In the same way, we are doing a project inspired from the plant guardians from the plant heritage in UK, at the European scale, adapt to each gardener in every country. That's what you can see here. So profit of the fantastic diversity of actors, plant or animals we may invite in your cities to move an ever-increasing audience. Welcome to Nantes to discover this great diversity of projects in a wide and cultivated living show. Thank you. Twenty.